Okay, Matt. So you are ex-police. Let's get
Yes.
that out of the way first. Um, and so you were a police officer or in the police department for how long?
24 years in the end, or just shy of 24 years.
Just shy of 24 years.
Yeah.
And so you decided, putting that behind me and I'm going to buy a shop.
hmm
And so you bought this kind of old traditional news agency
Yep.
in Mount Lawley, which is a 20-minute walk out of Perth.
Yep.
And so describe what the shop looked like when you bought it.
I was fortunate in that the shop had moved premises from a few doors up. So it was in a newish building, or not a new building, but a new fit out of a building. So however, it was empty. And what was in there was just traditional news agency lines or junk. There was meant to be $40,000 worth of stock on the balance sheet. I wrote the majority of it off when I took over. I was like, I was too embarrassed to even sell a lot of it, especially in the market that we're in here. It was yeah, empty other than junk.
And look, you mentioned the market. I mean, Mount Lawley is it's a nice area.
Mhm.
People have got money. You've got some really cool and interesting retail around you.
Yep,
And so it's not kind of a discount variety space.
definitely not.
So,
And we've got a little bit of the best of both worlds, Mark. And there's a university that's actually moving into the city soon, but there's Edith Cowan University based in Mount Lawley. There's a TAFE nearby, and as we're on the urban fringe, and there's some guess some dense housing as well.
yeah.
There's some students and that is around. So there's some massive, there's some old money, there's new money, but there's also students, families.
Yep.
We've got a massive variety.
So the shop traditional news agents got lotteries. So when you took it over, it had lotteries, newspapers, magazines, cards, bit of stationery,
Yep.
not a lot in the way of gift, or the gift was kind of very down market gift.
Mhm.
And the shop itself is what, about 75, 80 square meters?
Yeah, just 70, just
Yep.
pretty much 70 square meters.
And so you took it over how long ago now?
November 2020, so 2.5 years ago.
And COVID was a big thing.
Yeah, it was, yeah, in
Uh,
COVID. Yep.
so you took it over and here you are with a police background thinking let me have a crack at retail.
I thought, like, thought if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it properly. And I researched it. I researched the location of the shop. I researched the shops around it. But importantly, I researched, I think, the news agency channel.
Yeah.
And a lot of that actually came from your website, your blog. I spent hours at night just trawling through your blog.
And you knew early on that you didn't want to run a traditional news agency.
I didn't think it was viable. And in terms of um, like I was earning good money in the police, and my wife is very risk adverse, and she was like, I don't want you to go from a government job that's secure where we're earning X amount of money to us scraping, to make ends meet. And I was like, no, no, I can, based on the previous owners' finances, and the books, I knew that there was room there to grow the business. And for in the future me to hopefully be able to draw a decent wage.
And it's fair to say you didn't do it with, truckloads of cash sitting behind you. You've had to go about this in a way that, every dollar you spend is a dollar you've had to work hard to earn. So you're being careful in what you're doing.
So much so, I guess this shows the naivety. So I say I did my research, which I did, but I remember day one I opened up and there's the handover and the old owner said, "Oh, so what about a float? You just want to buy my float off me?" I was like, "Oh, didn't even think about that." And then I literally had no money in the bank. Like
Yep.
I started with no capital, and so everything I had to just reinvest, the profits as they were, coming in back into small things. And we got, I'm still growing, but yeah.
So, I mean, the thing is, that was late 2020, and here we are heading towards mid 2024. You'd have to be feeling pretty good about where things are at.
Yeah, I am. I'm really, really happy with how things have turned out.
Yeah. So we're going to share some photos. These are photos from pretty recently that you provided. So we see the outside of the shop, and it kind of looks. You could say it looks a little traditional, But I think what's interesting here is you are identifying, for example, you've got some fashion there, you've got some really nice high-end cards, some stock you're quitting, a bit more fashion. But as we step into the shop, we see something that looks pretty different because it
Yeah,
doesn't look like a news agency at all.
no. And I mean,
Um,
even the lotto and that, you sort of can't really see. We're lucky over here. Yeah.
you don't want to say that. Don't say that too loudly. But you can't see it. You're right.
No.
So if we look here on the left hand side, you've got some Yu-Gi's product, and then you've got a range of interesting products. You've got the Marvis toothpaste, which is really fantastic toothpaste. Um, so you're appealing to this kind of sort of quirky gift shopper, I guess, somebody
Hmm.
who is looking for interesting things.
My sort of, as I've evolved, I've definitely made conscious decisions to go anything mainstream. I mean, anything but mainstream.
Yeah,
Saying that, there are, I've got some Isalbi stock that you'll see in other news agencies and this and that, but I'm really trying. If it's in a majors, I don't want it. If it's um, because as you know, we can't compete. We can't compete with the
no,
volume, the prices, and I think a lot of it's rubbish. So
yeah.
why would I try to?
Well, you look at something like this. This is your part of your Mother's Day display, and you've got some really nice gifting in here, and it doesn't feel news agency like when I look at that.
No, no, that's and in fact, the Alive, for example, there's a few News Express stores that have got it, but we've had to sort of prove ourselves to get it. They're one of those ones that don't like associating themselves with our channel,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah.
But there's a few of us that have been successful in getting it.
So
Um,
we're standing here just inside the door. We look across to your counter, which is kind of diagonally over there to the right. You've got this little nook in here. And when I've been in the shop, that's very much kid focused, educational games and toys and things like that. And it seems like it's still pretty much that sort of space. You would have kids sitting there and enjoying what it is you've got in that space.
yeah, they do. Look, I don't mind for the most part. I have my days where, yeah, every morning kids come and sit there and they'll, they'll look and they'll touch and they'll play with the jelly cats. I
Mm.
know that that's not everyone's cup of tea, and that bothers some retailers. I tolerate it, and I understand that it actually promotes and brings in sales for me. So, as long as the kids are, generally well behaved, it's not an issue. The mums are either with them or
Yeah.
looking at clothes out the front, and
Tell
it
us
just
about
adds
this.
to the appeal.
Tell us about this table you've got here that sort of sits on the corner of the counter. Um, because I've seen you've used this space for all different sorts of things, and I imagine this is constantly changing.
Yeah, so that is really constantly. So that's usually our sort of seasonal area. So Mother's Day is actually we were meant to move Mother's Day to there today. We're running a bit late, but we haven't done that. So that was just in between whatever the last. We
Mm.
had Easter there until recently, actually, and then after Easter, we've made the bit of the Dream Farm display and some other. Generally, we put the newer things there or seasonal.
I imagine it's a space that works really well for you.
It is. It's right, obviously, next to the counter where people pay.
Yep.
Yep.
Cool.
It's
So let's move on from there. Um, and it kind of like everywhere you look in the shop, there are kind of different and unique things. Um, you've got reusable silicon mats here, um, unique products that you wouldn't see again in a typical news agency.
no. One thing, and I think that we're all well, one thing that I've noticed is those neon signs back there, Mark. I actually let two of my staff go to the last Albi season launch. I didn't go because I think I was going to the UK not long before or after. So I said to the girls, "You go," and I pretty much gave them free rein. I said, "Oh, look, you guys do the order, and then I'll cull or edit it when the invoice comes through. I'll have a look at the sort of final sales order." Um, but in the end, what they decided, I actually let it all go through, and yeah, it's worked. And there's a lesson in that's for me, and that give others the opportunity to have a crack, and it really empowers them as well.
Well, it does empower them, and it also helps you see the business differently. I mean, if you wouldn't have stocked, for example, something like the neon signs and they work, that's a
Mm,
great lesson. It's
yeah,
fantastic.
absolutely. Yeah.
So this is looking towards your back door. You're currently in the office, which is tucked in behind there to the left, I guess.
Yep.
I guess it's a reminder that you are using every square inch of space that you've got in here.
Yeah, I have to. Yep.
You've got no choice.
No choice.
Um, I know you're very strong with Jellycat, very important brand to you. And I would imagine you're getting well known in the area for carrying a good Jellycat range.
Yeah, and I joined a Facebook group a couple of days ago, a Jellycat Australia Collectors or something. And I actually saw our shop. Someone had taken a couple of photos from
Mm,
inside, and it got some good comments. And so
excellent.
much so that I was speaking to the girls today, and I said that photocopy has got to go. So literally this morning, I was saying, oh, it's a hard. No, I've got to get rid of the photocopier, and we'll put a small printer somewhere else, and because it just doesn't go with the direction that I'm going, and
Yeah.
the look, the image. So.
Well, you want to create something that's just this treasure hunt appeal. People are wanting to dive deeper and deeper into the shop to see what it is you've got.
Yeah.
Um, then you've got, a fairly traditional card offering, but you started, and we don't need to talk about brands specifically, but you started somewhere with cards and you've ended up in a very different place. And that journey you've gone on has been very much driven by the data that's coming out of your business.
Yeah, I look at data I look at it daily, but I really crunch it weekly and monthly, and with the cards, it was the stuff that I got, the data that I got from Michael in
Yeah.
relation to um creating the full faced wall that we put some Waterland and Henderson in.
Yep.
And then we've just evolved from there, and we have become a destination for cards.
And you've got this great range of gift packaging as well, so people, can easily see it. And you mentioned about being a destination for cards. I mean, you've got on your street, you've got other retailers with good card ranges.
Yeah, and some really quirky ones as well. But so it would have been easier to go, oh, we'll just stay with a more traditional range.
Mm.
However, the data and everything is showing that, yeah, we need the variety.
Yep. Um, and your kids feature in photos that you take for the business. I've got some social media photos in a moment, featuring them as well. How much of a role do they play in informing kind of decisions you make about the business?
Yeah, we'll often the kids will get given gifts a lot, and I'll look at them and go, I haven't seen that before, or Carly will my wife will buy gifts for kids, and we'll go, oh, where did you get that from? And so a lot of the stuff that we actually stock started with either gifts that we got
Yep.
given or gifts that we've bought for. So we are really fortunate, and we've got a massive range of, I think, gift offering in the sort of 5 to 12-year-old
Yep.
female. Maybe a males is where we're missing a little bit, because I'm just not as familiar with that space. But the girls come and test it out. The girls, they get to take a lot of them home, which they're
Yep.
lucky about. In terms of um, the shop's a second home to our kids, as it is to, I think, to a lot of business owners, and the customers love them, and they interact with the kids all the time. And
Yeah.
to me, it's a massive plus. It's a massive appeal, that the local connection.
It helps inform decisions too, which is a really good thing. Um, so, in terms of greeting cards, I want to say, and we're not necessarily talking about detailed business data, but your card sales are up some kind of massive number compared to where they were at when you took over the business.
Yeah, I don't have it on top but it's huge markets. It really is huge.
It's just money in the bank.
Mm.
You just see the variety of product. It's just extraordinary. Over there in the back of that photo, we could see some magazines, but the amount of magazine space you've got allocated now compared to what was there when you took over is, I imagine, minuscule.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Um,
We've cut down on magazines. We've um, cut down on like there used to be where actually the Jellycat was. There was a Coke fridge. I literally crunched the numbers. That was one of the first things I did, was crunch the numbers on that. And I went down from a two-door fridge to a one-door fridge to, why am I even bothering?
yeah, yeah. What's purpose does it serve?
Yeah,
You got a bit of stationery because, you got locals who are using pens and papers and you want to be able to satisfy their need. But again, every single piece of space you've got, even here, we're looking towards the front of the shop. The counter is tucked in behind there. But as I go to the counter to pay for something, I've got this range of cards just sitting here. So you're pitching Mother's Day cards to me there. You've got some gifts here. Um, and I would imagine people are adding things to their purchase at the counter when they're buying something from you.
yeah, they do. The only sort of usable counter space that we've currently got is literally the scratch and win bench for the lotto bench.
Yep.
we have to do everything on that little space there. So when people ask for gift wrapping, which we'll certainly do, we'll go out of our way to keep the customers happy. We're having to move stuff off the counter behind all that to do it,
Yeah.
but you make things work.
Yeah, you find the space. Um, okay. You've got this eclectic mix of products. I know you're going to trade shows. We've been overseas a few times, so we've looked at businesses overseas. You mentioned that you like to find products from suppliers who aren't supplying mainstream retailers like department stores. Um, you must be spending a lot of time trying to find good product.
Yeah, so classic example there is the Toyo. So first saw that in when we did our New York retail trip
Yeah.
with you guys. That was in Brooklyn.
Yep.
Saw it there. Then again saw it in the UK. Funnily
Yep.
enough, in Liberty we saw it. I don't know if you noticed it was in Liberty in the stationery area, Mark. But
Yep.
and then in Choosing Keeping maybe, or one of the other not choosing the other where I bought
Labour and
my
weight.
apron, Labor and Weight, they had
Yeah.
Toyo. Um, so I sort of reached out to them as soon as I got back. The other thing there on the right hand side of that picture is Captain Fawcett, which hasn't moved that well yet, but I give everything a go. That's men's grooming products from the UK. I sourced that directly from the UK,
Mm.
imported that myself, and it's just different. It's everyone's, yeah, I just want to have things that you're not going to get everywhere else. So
Well,
that's
when
my,
you've got that sort of product, people like I'm the sort of shopper, I'll see that and I'll think, I haven't seen that before, and I know somebody I'm going to be able to give to that too soon.
yes.
So, um, you buy it speculatively,
Mhm.
and I think that's when you get some really good business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good comment. Like I've got some customers, as I say, this is a bit of a quirky area, and I've got some customers with some great moustaches that come in, and I'll often point. I say, "Oh, I said, what do you use for your moustache? What sort of wax do you use, or whatever?" And they'll tell me, "Oh, so I'm not trying to do the sell here." I said, "But have a look at this and tell me what you think." Like,
Mm.
and they'll go, "Oh, yeah, yeah." And so I have had the sales through that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
You mentioned full face cards before. This is part of your range of full face cards. This was a new move for the business. I think it's a great way to display cards.
Yes, and so that it, I, it was a risky move in that we're limited by space. That was the actual premium sort of shelving area in the shop previously. It had glass fixtures, like glass shelving fixtures with the slat wall, which was the previous owner had put in. But that's where he had his gifting. Saying that, he had gifting, then he would have free local papers mixed amongst it, and then it was just, there was no cohesion with anything. So I made a decision to use that space just because of where it was, and I liked the colored timber in the background to do the full face.
Mm.
And I haven't lost out. My gift sales, you just find somewhere else to put them, and the card sales have grown remarkably.
Well, it's interesting because, card companies historically in Australia have wanted retailers to go for that sort of tiered shelving because you get more stock into the shop. But this is an example, I think, of where less is more works because all of these cards have beautiful designs on them. And as a shopper, I'm going to be more drawn to look at them because I can see the full design rather than just the top third of it.
Yeah, like those, the third from the end there, Mark. They're the quilling cards that we again first saw at New York now. And they
These
sell
ones
at six.
here.
Yeah, they sell at 16.99 each, and they we wouldn't be able to sell them if they weren't presented like that, because people first see them and they see them as almost a piece of art, and they pick it up and then
Yeah.
touch it, and then they look at the back and maybe have a little bit of a and they go, oh, you know what, this is no, and they buy it.
And there's this, for the giver of that card, there's this pride of them being able to give something that's so beautiful and so unique.
Hmm.
It just really adds value to the whole relationship.
Yeah,
Um, then you have kind of you've got this sort of shelving and you've got sort of books tucked in here and tucked in there. And
yeah, yeah.
it really is this whole thing of you can turn anywhere and go up and down and you're going to find product.
Yeah, it makes it hard for us sometimes because yeah, people will say, I saw this last week. Where is it now? I'm like, I actually don't know myself. Just bear with me. It's here somewhere. I'll find it. Yeah.
I'll find it for you. Uh,
Yeah.
so this is so we're right on the corner and
Yeah. Back at the,
looking across at the counter. Um, and that gives us a better view looking from the back of the shop towards the front. So people get a real sense there of how small the shop is. And, in terms of return on investment per square foot, I would imagine, if you were ever to compare to other businesses, you're going to be performing way, way, way above the average in terms of return on space invested.
yeah.
And I think part of that's because of the very unique product mix that you've put together.
Yeah. I'm also conscious that, I'm in a fairly well-to-do area, and my rent is just, as I understand it, pretty high. So I have to make that space work for me.
Yep. Yep. We're going into some of the social media posts. This is one from April 28. I included this one because, first of all, there's this very kind of gentle reference about your kids.
Hmm.
And here's one of your daughters showing off one of the hair clip products that you're selling, or a couple of hair clip products. Um, and I would imagine people react well to
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. And that's 100% a true story. So that brand actually reached out to me after seeing our Instagram page, or they followed us, and they sent some samples. And then she rang and she said, she wants to stock us, and if she sent us some samples rather. And I literally, so I took them home and I went, Carly, did you order these? Like, for the girls? And she's like, no. And I was like, okay. And I had a better look inside and realized that they were samples that she'd sent.
Mm.
And Carly said, oh no, but we have got them for our kids. So, and I was like, oh wow, great, all right. And I said, what do you think, Carly? And she goes, yeah, they last a long time. They're really
Yeah.
good, la la. And so I was like, all right. And she said, yeah, go get them. She goes,
Yeah.
they've got a reasonable following on social media, and so it just fits in with us and the brand and the
Now,
kids. Yeah,
um, without getting too stalkery, uh, your daughter has a name badge
yeah,
and she's wearing a T-shirt for the business.
yeah.
Um, and you've done a fair bit of that. In terms of branding of the business, you've still got news in the title, but it's not a big deal because you don't identify as a news agency.
No. And what I again this that the whole logo, the whole that was just literally 10 minutes one day of just playing around with it, just going, oh, I want to have a little, want to maybe modernize things a little bit. But I made a conscious decision that the demographic where we are love to support indie. So I didn't want to associate with a franchise or even a
Mm.
marketing group or a buying group. They really love their independence. And I just also want, it's a bit of a, it can be a bit of a trendy area. And I wanted to go away from the less traditional, more trend. So I thought, all right, let's have a less traditional logo. I wear a hoodie that's Mount Lawley News. The kids have got pink hoodies. The staff have got
Yep.
this same color. So that was a conscious decision to make it look a little bit younger and a bit more refreshed.
I think it's very important for local businesses to identify um, as local businesses. I think the idea of, whether it's a gift shop or a garden centre or a news agency or a toy shop, using some national brand in a local town, to me, I think the days of that are long past. And if I'm in, say I'm in, Rockhampton in Queensland, or in say Dubbo in New South Wales, I'm going to be a better fit in the local community by presenting as this local business, this local family connected business, than I am making out that I'm part of some larger group, because that larger group doesn't mean anything to the local community.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I think it's a big, big difference. Also on social media, here's another shot of your kids. This is the photo we saw earlier in the deck. And, your social media posts aren't shouty kind of come shop with us or anything like that. There's a more gentle approach that I think people respond well to on social media.
Yeah, I very rarely would sort of put prices or, yeah, I mean, the most is probably that post there that says, "Come grab your favorite snuggly fruit," But they're either informative or yeah, just educational to some degree
Yeah.
about what we've got.
You did a market last year. This was a street event, which I thought was interesting in the sense that here you are, um, again, Mount Lawley news, but there's nothing newsy about this because you're pitching um, dog accessories.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, just being aware of what's going on in the area and trying to tie in with that connection. So there was the Beaufort Street Network Dogtober
Yep.
event, and I thought, well, we can jump on board that. We've got a range that suits in that. So yeah, you just got to be aware of what's happening.
Just have a bit of fun and be a bit different. And then you've got something like this that's just a really adorable photo. And you the hashtag say it all, family business. I think that makes a strong statement. Um, and uh, it's just it puts a very a gentle warmth to the business, which I think is a really good thing.
Hmm. Yeah,
You
definitely.
also so you've got the shop, and then you've got your website. You've had the website now for
12 months, April last year, it would have
yeah,
launched. Yeah.
and business is going well with the website.
It's going really well, really, really well. So initially, sort of, we've done really well with coins, but now we're still doing well with coins. But it just baffles me every day what people buy and how some of the organic discoveries. Today I sold, just packed them so I can't show. Um, some paper wallets that I sell. I'm like, how do people even discover them? There's just some crazy things. I don't know. Legami pens for 4.95. The koala ones must be hard to find in Australia because I sold someone 5 of those the other day, and then someone else 4 of them. I don't know how they're necessarily finding me because, but
It's fascinating, isn't it? Sort of random things people buy.
mm, hmm
And the thing is to not get kind of in your head about it. What I liked about the website is that you've broken it down by these kind of sections that are interesting. There's about you, and then you've got the brands, give, play, write, wear, collect. It makes it really simple for me to navigate that. Um, as somebody who shops online, I think that's really important because I could be buying for different occasions. And so here I can focus on gifts for him or gifts for her, or I can focus on different brands that I like. And I think that's really, really interesting. How important is online to you today?
Oh, huge. We some of our Perth group, other News Express members reached out about probably 2 or 3 weeks ago and said, "Oh, guys, is it just someone said, oh, is it just me or is it really, really quiet?" This was on about a Thursday. We've absolutely been dead this week, and I said, "Yeah, I think it's been the slowest week I've had. It's been the slowest week I've had this year at least." And so we all agreed it was really, really slow. And then I said, "Oh, I'm just fortunate that the website." And I think up until the Thursday, that was a huge week because I'd had $4,000 worth of web sales up until the Thursday, and that really, so the website just ticks along. You've got to feed it, like you say, but it does. If you keep feeding it, you'll wake up in the morning and there'll be some sales, and it just reaches customers.
And look, I know it's not what we're here for. You've got a blog connected to the website, I think. Where can I access that?
The very bottom of the homepage.
Uh, under here we go. There we go. Blog posts. Cool. So what I will do is I will share that because I think you would agree that's proving to be a very important part of um, how you reach new customers.
Yeah, so when I have done a little bit of research or just searched a brand or something, often, I won't come up in the first few pages, but sorry, the first few listings, but then you won't necessarily see the product, but you will see the blog post as well. So it definitely works.
Yeah. So you're using this. We're talking here about Marvis toothpaste,
Hmm.
and you're connecting it back to your brand, your online brand, which is Olivia and Grace Giftware. And then you've got a post there about it. And it's another way to help attract people. And you know, the thing about that is that you've got people in Mount Lawley who'll shop and will pick up the toothpaste and possibly buy it. But Marvis is one of those brands that once somebody has used it, they're more likely to seek it out again. And they might be back in, you know, Penrith in Sydney or wherever, and they can't find it. So they'll go online and look for it. And whoever comes up with it first and the price is reasonable, they're going to purchase it.
Yeah.
And that's where your business is going to grow. And I think that's where online plays a very important role.
Yeah. Well, I had a great sale the other day. It's for Marvis toothpaste. It was for some Dennison toothpicks, so that are world's most expensive toothpicks from Canada, 16.94, 14.95 for 6 flavored toothpicks. And there was something else in the sort of oral hygiene. And I just thought, it was just almost, it was a perfect gift that I thought someone's bought for someone as a
Yep.
package of the full oral health. It was a Marvis toothbrush as well. So
Right.
toothpaste, toothbrush, and the toothpicks. And I thought, wow, someone's either got really bad breath or yeah.
They're giving someone an
Uh,
expensive message.
yeah.
Um, what, you know, as I said earlier, where you're heading towards 4 years in, is there anything you wish you could have told yourself before you took over that like you wish you knew then that you know now?
It's a hard one because I guess there's still so much that I don't know. So I don't know what I don't know. I to potentially, I've always, whether it's an ego thing, had a bit of an ego. So maybe just to let the other staff have a bit more of a go. I learned from that very recently. Um, like we've always said, we're not our customers. Well, let this, our staff, yeah. So don't buy what we would buy. Well, let the staff have a go at what they
Yeah,
think might work as well, because they can teach you so much.
yeah. Um,
Mm.
and uh, are you happy you made the decision to buy the
Yeah,
business?
it was, look, one of the main reasons was because I wanted to get out of almost a bureaucracy, and I wanted to create my own sort of destiny and make my own decisions. So 100% each day I come to work and I get to work with a pretty amazing bunch of people, and I get to create what this shop is. And I get to engage with the customers, which I absolutely love. I love getting out there and talking to people and finding out what they want.
Yep. And you know, you're in a channel that itself is going through, you know, ongoing challenges and changes. Local retail itself is going through changes. Um, would you say you feel kind of optimistic about the road ahead?
I think so. I think as long as people are willing to change, and you sort of you move with you know with the times.
And change is a big thing for you, isn't it? I mean, you actively seek it out.
Hmm. Yeah.
I think that's an important factor because imagine being in local small business retail today and not wanting change. You know,
Yeah.
you're not going to survive.
One of the real things that I love, especially here, like, well, is the little connection, the group that we've got over here, and none of us see the stores. So in WA, our News Express, members, we get together every 2 or 3 months, and we talk about what's working. We've got our WhatsApp group. We talk, message each other. So we all go through this together, and none of us look at each other um, as competitors, because realistically we're not. We're all, and even if we were across the road from each other, I don't think it'd make that much difference. Yeah, we really look out for each other, and it's good.
Well, look, thanks for letting us have a look at the shop. I think you should be really proud of how it looks. And I think it gives kind of the people in the sort of the Mount Lawley catchment area a really interesting place to shop. So you should be very happy with it. But also, I know you're going to want to go and change stuff next week and the week after and keep doing that.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Mark.